Time to spill the secrets.
This is Universal Secrets with Tiffany Mack and Kevin Hale.
It's Tuesday night. You know what that means.
It's Universal Secrets night.
When was the last freaking time you said that?
Oh, God.
I can
you know
tell
what? You. Okay, tell me, what was the date?
I can't tell the exact date, but it was November 2021.
It was.
November 2021. A month out from contact at the content.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult time for us too, because we had so much momentum and we ended up having to cut it short, which was very upsetting to both of us, of course. But, you know, we got through COVID, and I think that we have the potential to go out and explore new content along with the favorites that we've had in the past.
I agree. This layover, and, you know, if I'm going to do a paranormal show, I can't do it really without you. I just can't.
Oh.
Well, you and Brent now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's November 2021, and a
lot has happened since then.
A lot. Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, AI, everything, it's so different. But Here we are. We are Universal Secrets. It's 4.0.
3.0. 3.0 or 4.0?
4.0. 4 different variations of this show, and we're streaming live on Earth Radio. Thank you, Ron. Thank you to all of our friends in the chat hanging with us. Tiffany and Kevin here. Tiffany and the Red Lips are back. That is a hashtag, Tiffany.
It is. It is. The Red Lips. Yep.
So for the record, tonight, you know, obviously being Tuesday night, doing the show, coming back, you're on vacation.
Yes.
I tried to talk you out of this. For Brent, if bro code would be like, you know, he gets you all to himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've managed to get maybe 90 minutes of you. But, you know, again, we love talking the paranormal. We love, you know, going in and out with great guests, and, you know, tonight's no exception.
Right.
We've got a guy on, well, Brent will be a part of it, but Brad, who I'm familiar with, his work with, you know, in the Bigfoot field. Mm-hmm. How did you guys meet?
Well, you know, my husband Brent is a Bigfoot investigator. I'm not sure that he's really been doing a whole lot lately with it, but we are going to get back into the aspect of investigations. But when I met Brent, obviously my world turned more from the UFO UAP side to Yeah, we ended up going a little bit down that rabbit hole that we talk about a lot of times, and we decided that Bigfoot was a real thing, you know, and I had never really even considered Bigfoot being a possibility, but you know, as things happen, life changes, and you get more experiences in your world that are it shows that our world is a lot bigger than we can imagine. We talk about a lot of this like cosmic connectivity with the outer realms, right? It's space and beyond, but we don't have all the information about what's on Earth. And so that's sort of one of the things that Brent likes to discuss with me is that there is this sort of unseen world right here amongst us, and they may be just keeping out of our perception just slightly, and we're not really focused on seeing those types of beings, so maybe we miss them altogether. But I have definitely met a lot of interesting people in the Bigfoot world over the past few years due to Brent and my involvement with him. But Brad Kennan is one of those guys who was one of the first men that I met in the Bigfoot world. And he seemed very compelled by the stories that he had heard. And he is a very good storyteller. So this is one of the people that is a very good reference when it comes to Bigfoot lore and knowledge. So I would like to introduce him as an explorer, if you will. And
officially do it.
Officially, Brad Kennan, welcome to Universal Secrets. How are you this evening?
I am fine. How are you doing?
Good. You've had a long day, I hear.
Yeah, this has been a long day.
Yeah.
A very long day, and your husband and I hung out for quite a long time today. So,
but that was good, though, right? What did you all end up doing today?
It was so.
I just want to because this is part of it. So, what did you guys do today?
Okay.
So, we have some new toys that we got a little while ago. I bought this toy, and I talked your husband into getting one. So I went out and bought a thermal drone. A fairly decent one. It was really cool. I was out with Matt Moneymaker one time last fall, and he brought his, he had a DJI thermal out. He brought it out, and he's flying this thing around at night, and we're watching deer, and we're doing all this neat stuff. And it's just like, frick, man, that's really cool. I didn't know drones would really come this far. So the first thing I did, I went back and bought like $1,000 drone. I figure if I wreck $1,000 drone, that's better than a $5,000 or $6,000 drone, which I had the drone for maybe 45 minutes, and I hit a power line over a pond. So my drone ended up in the pond.
Did it do one of these?
Exactly. So I literally jumped the fence. It's kind of cold. It was right at the end of the fall. I go over, this thing's literally, the lights are blinking. It's upside down in the water right by the edge of the pond. I take my shoes and socks off, get in the water, get my drone out. I'm like, oh, it's broke. One of the little arms was busted off of it. I'm like, man, maybe I can fix this. No, you can't. Send it back to the manufacturer. They fix it. Another $400 down the drain. You come back. You
got it on Amazon. You send it back. No questions asked.
I know that's true, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah. I think they found that trick out with drones. So I ended up learning how to fly a drone, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna buy a thermal drone. So I bought a thermal drone. I thought it was really freaking cool. So I called up Sip, and I'm like, Sip, man, you got to get one of these. So he ends up with a drone. So he flies his, we fly ours, randomly, in our own areas of expertise where we live. So today we got our drones out, middle of the day. We literally go, so there's apps you have to use. We're using an app called, Before You Fly. It'll be pulled up and it says, hey, I can fly a drone here. Well, where we're staying, you cannot fly a drone here. Literally everywhere you turn, there's an Air Force base. There's
correct.
An Air Force base. There's a airport. There is this, there's that. So we had to drive 45 minutes away. We drove out. We're looking at the satellite, just driving down some random, roads that are, part gravel, part sand, part shells, a little bit of asphalt mixed in. Literally we pull over, we just open them up, and we fly over some swamps looking for whatever. We did that. We probably had the drones in the air. He had his in the air quite a bit more than I did. We got some really good, interesting video. The thing that we did like is we encountered an issue. We were going back to a spot, a lake, and it was the road was washed out, so we couldn't even go any further with the vehicle. So we kind of backed up. We found a spot in the canopy. We could open the drone up, get the drone up in the air, and that drone went ahead and it was looking where we couldn't go. So the thing that I have realized in this field is that there's a lot of places out in this world that you go to squatching and you think, oh my gosh, man, this is the perfect spot. It's a field, there's a tree line, there's a pond, there's a river, there's a lake, whatever it is. You go out there, you sit in the woods, you look around with your thermal camera or your night vision or whatever you have, whatever toy you have, and nothing happens. Well, with the technology we have today, we throw that drone in the air. We fly it out half a mile this way. We come around, we fly a half mile this way. We're another half mile this way. So we've literally just covered the diameter of a mile with thermal at night. And we didn't see a single thing. We didn't see a coyote. We didn't see a deer. We didn't see anything. So that tells me that I'm not going to waste the next 2 hours of my life sitting here with a thermal. I'm going to pack the car up and I'm moving.
You know what's funny is, first of all, let's bring Brent on, because we need to have his his brilliant mind as well. But when it comes down to it, when you see a very vast amount of space with no animals, what would that signify to you? Does that mean that there is a potential that there might be a large predator around and they're being pushed away from the area, or they're very silent, or is there something else going on that you would suspect? Hello, Brent.
Hello. No, we saw one deer.
Hi.
Right after one deer.
Yeah,
one deer.
Yeah,
okay.
We saw one deer. Can I answer this question, Tiff?
Absolutely.
So we, one of our very close friends, my co-host on our podcast, Dr. Russ Jones, he's got, X amount of cameras out in the field. So he puts a camera in a certain holler in a certain spot, and literally for day after day after day after day after day after day after day, there's 10 deer, 12 deer, 10 deer, 12 deer. All of a sudden, day, whatever it is, nothing. They disappear for a week or 10 days. Not a single deer on camera. Then the deer come back. So I think, I'm thinking the same thing. We're not seeing it with a drone. He's not seeing it with a trail cam. You're right. Is a major predator coming into that area? Or are we in a spot where Sasquatch or skunk ape is at, and that thing is moving in the area, and those prey animals know that they should not be around because they will be food.
Right. Yeah. Brent, what do you think about that?
Yeah, 100% correct. I mean, if you see prey animals in the same spot over and over again, and then they disappear for a period of time, something has had to have happened for that to make that happen. So. Right.
And as a daughter of a hunter, I spent so many weekends of the year in the woods, and the typical animals that are foraging around and things like that. When they're absent, it's a sign that there's something else going on. Either there's some kind of disruption in the environment. And it's usually pretty obvious. I mean, even in our woods, if we don't see deer out there for a week at a time, you're wondering, where the hell are they? What's going on? What's out there that's keeping them away?
It must be the 5G. I'm kidding.
5G, yeah.
Potentially, I guess, if you want to go there.
We won't. Not tonight.
Okay.
No, because the 5G is always there.
True. Now, yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about, and this was brought up by Brad over the past 2 days. We've discussed it a little bit, and I wanted to talk about how AI has come into our realm of existence, and how the direction we're going with AI in the paranormal world is one of increasing innovation and exploration. And as it increases and continues to advance, it holds the potential to create more convincing stories and images that can further blur the lines between reality and the paranormal. So what I'm worried about is that people are going to be going out into the woods and into the world and looking for evidence of either extraterrestrials, other entities, Bigfoot. We'll use Bigfoot, all of the cryptids. But how do you think that the AI generated content could provide new perspectives? And how do you think it's going to blur the lines on reality when it comes to a potential investigation? And I'll drop that on Brent for a moment, and then we can go to Brad and see what your thoughts are.
Okay. Well, Brad is the expert on this because he's been using AI for all kinds of things.
We're going to get your basic opinion before we get to Brad's professional opinion.
Okay. Well, all I know is AI is amazing. Like Brad sent me a Christmas
Brent's
card.
unprofessional opinion, and then Brad's a professional. Okay, yeah. I got it.
So, for Christmas, I got a Christmas card from him, and he just chatted into an AI program. Hey, I want a Bigfoot Santa, and I want coyotes as the reindeer. And it spit it out, and that's what I got. And then he said he wanted for my birthday card, he wanted a Sasquatch sitting in an MD-11 cockpit. And that's what I got. So, there's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be the end of people like Brad and I and Russ, people who go out in the field, or maybe it'll just give us a renewed sense of purpose, because those kind of people who have actual firsthand experiences and knowledge are going to have a little bit more than what somebody just throws into a log, some kind of algorithm saying, hey, I want a Bigfoot who did this, or tell me a Bigfoot story. People who actually have experiences might have what the AI is unable to generate.
So, Tiffany, basically you're telling me that everything that's been blurry, and that the fact that it will become clear, it's still not real.
Loud splashes will not become clear, no.
Yes.
Or maybe they will because it's AI generated.
Because it's,
And maybe they will be more clear, yet is it the truth?
But
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
What is the real truth, Brad?
So,
yeah. Go ahead, Brad.
For our last episode of our podcast, we had a guest cancel, actually a couple episodes ago, and we were looking for stories. So Russ had a couple really good encounters that we were going to go over, and I had one I really liked. But I said, you know what? What would be really cool is if I really went into ChatGPT and said, I want a firsthand encounter of a Bigfoot at a cabin in the woods in Ohio. And I want it to be 1,500 words, and I want it to be terrifying. So within, 15 seconds, I had a 1,500 page or 1,500 word encounter that Lily started out with, hey, I'm writing this, blah, blah, blah. And so I got on the show and I said, Russ, I just got this report in. It's really good. I just want to read it to you. I haven't really done any investigation into it. But I got it in by email, so I really haven't talked to you about it. So I read it, and it was a pretty good encounter. The thing, it kind of built up to this. It built up to this thing about, I saw something in the tree line one night, and the next day I saw some footprints in the snow, and then next thing you know, there was one over here and one over here, and there was a knock and a wood knock, and it was a great encounter. And by the time I got done, I said, Russ, I just, because the guy threw in there something about some pictures or something. And Russ was like, man, where's the pictures at? He sent you the picture. I'm like, well, I haven't got that far with the guy yet. He's just trying to get me to trust me. And I said, but Russ, I really got to come clean. I said, this was an AI generated encounter. So we might have to watch for that, but there are still things, us as researchers, we can somewhat pick out a good encounter, bad encounter. Someone, if you ask them about that encounter face to face, they're going to slip up and not be able to tell you everything that's there. But there are some things that, it does. I can take a BFRO report cut and paste from the top to the bottom, throw it in ChatGPT, and I can say, hey, I want this report in one paragraph. Summarize this report. Does a great job. I take that report, that one paragraph or two paragraphs, I cut and paste that, I throw it over into Dolly, which Dolly is it's based on ChatGPT, but it's more for imaging and video. And I say, take this report and give me 3 images that depict this encounter. So is what it does. It will literally make some great images of a Bigfoot on a mountain, or a Bigfoot across a stream, and a guy in a campsite sitting around, and it's just, very, very interesting. So, but I think is what it's going to do is it's going to take people that have had encounters. They can take that report, write that report. Then they can take that report and throw it out there to one of these images, AI generators, and it's going to generate that encounter in a form that says, okay, here's my first attempt at it. So it walked across the road and you were at this aspect. You could say, okay. That's a good start, but it was going from left to right, not right to left. It was a little bit darker color. So instead of having someone that we have to get, their time and education of an artist, of a, that police sketch artist,
Right.
We don't have to get that person anymore.
Yeah.
We can just type it in and say, well, it's a good start, but let's change this, or let's do this, or let's do this over here. And the next thing you know is that encounter is being recreated. So OpenAI just came out with 2 days ago with, I don't even know what it's called, SAW or something like that, or ESA or something. It literally takes your words, once again, and turns them into videos. So is what I have found out, that there are multiple, you can generate an image with ChatGPT. It does an okay job. You can generate an image with Dolly, which is better for imaging because that's what it's built for. There's another program out there. It's on a Discord. It's called, what's it called, Sip? I showed it to you earlier. Give me 1 second. And this program is literally what we had Small Town Monsters on, Seth Breedlove.
Yeah,
and Seth is like, we don't even use, it's called Midjourney. So he says, we don't even use graphic artists anymore. We use Midjourney. We tell Midjourney what we want. And it is absolutely the most insane AI generation that you've ever seen. It can generate, if I want to sell a t-shirt, I can say, I want a model in my t-shirt standing in front of sitting on a sofa with blue jeans and a white background and a gray sofa. And it generates a guy sitting on a sofa that you can't tell the difference. Actors out the window, like I said, so we're taking that next step. No. So anyway, I don't know what my exact point was, but, we're going down the right path. And when people can take their thoughts, put them on a piece of paper, hand them to somebody, that AI can generate a video, a 10-second, 15-second encounter with a Sasquatch or an alien or a UFO or UAP. What did they see? How important is that? Because that's not, back in the day, we used to see these witnesses would like do this hand sketch, as a little piece of paper, and there's like a crayon and like a little third grader, because, it's a guy and he saw this thing and he really wants to get it off his chest, but he just doesn't have the talent. Now we can say, as an investigator, we can say, what did you really see? So let's type that up. Now let's go put it in this program. Now I'm going to send you something. Oh man, that's really close, but it was this. And you type a little bit more. Hey, just change it this way. Just change this way. Next thing you know, you have a 20-second clip of an encounter that is studio quality 8K that we can post. And other people might say, man, I saw the same thing. That's something I saw too. And I'm glad you brought that up, because people didn't believe me, but that's what I saw. So anyway.
So this could lead to exciting new possibilities in the realm of storytelling, but also entertainment and investigating the paranormal phenomenon. But I think that my concern would be the validity to these
Absolutely.
images and these stories. And I'll just bring in just sort of a basic, concern as a parent, which, there's going to be a major concern when it comes to kids writing their own essays. How do you think that this is going to impact the rest of the world when it comes to enjoying and truly having the paranormal experience? Do you think it's going to muddy the waters?
Well, I like what Brad was saying about having the ability to generate something that everyone can experience what the witness had experienced. But in a way, it almost feels like it dehumanizes the whole encounter. I don't know. I love Brad's take on it because it's a positive take and there's so much good that can be taken from it, but then it also takes away from the experience in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of negative to it too, because people can, things can generate. I know that, there were some images going around the internet a while ago, right when AI or Midjourney came out of this 10-foot Sasquatch standing next to or like in a loincloth, kind of looking more of like an indigenous person standing next to a person.
I love that one too.
And it says, literally you tell Midjourney, hey, I want a picture like it was taken in the 1800s of blah, 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 blah. And it spits it out and you're like, right, exactly. So that went around and people are like, oh my gosh, where'd these pictures come from? Well,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, but it's what you can do is there are markers in there. AI is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You can throw that stuff out there, and it will literally most of the time pick out if it is AI or not.
Oh, really? So they think that they can identify which ones are AI generated.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's going to also be an aspect that everyone is going to be on board with. They're going to be trying to disprove
Right. Well, think about this. There's a plugin for ChatGPT that de-AIs your writing. Nice. So as a child, as you were concerned with your kids, says, "Oh man, I didn't write my paper last night. I need a paper." They go in and they say, "ChatGPT, I need 1,000 words on the revolution of Bulgarian cities of 1920
independence."
Right. And it spits it out, and you're like, "Oh, that's really too perfect." So I take that paper, I throw it over in the un-AIer, and it literally adjusts the paper to make it look like it was not written by AI.
Oh shit! So we are so screwed, aren't we?
Right. So we have AI generating it, then we have AI un-AIing it, and it's just like, where does it stop? I don't know where it stops.
Where does creativity stop? Where's
I don't know.
Where's the engineering stop?
I don't know. I mean, I saw a guy that he was a former chip manufacturer. He was like an Intel, maybe one of the first Intel employees that designed maybe the first microprocessors. He said, for $1 trillion, I can build the generational AI processing chip. So what does that mean? Does that mean you're going to have AI in your phone? Does that mean you're going to have AI in your television?
Do you think we don't already have some form of that?
Absolutely. It's in everybody's phone. I mean,
it's in our pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. Google's pushing it. Bing's pushing it. Everybody's pushing. I can't even pull up a freaking article without AI generating a little synopsis of the article. I just want to read the article. Yeah. I don't want AI tells me. I just want to read the article, and it says like, oh, AI generated this. Here's a 3-sentence highlight of the article. Do you want to read it? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's the cliff notes.
It's the cliff notes.
Let me sneak a question in here from Uthi.
You're going to have to read them, Kevin, because I can't see.
I'm going to.
So So
yeah,
that question right there for me. Can I answer that question?
Yeah, you can. Well, let's
read it first.
Okay, so aren't there possibilities for AI to perform raw data analysis that would be difficult or impossible for humans? My take on this is absolutely. There is a plugin in ChatGPT just for data analysis. So think about this. So we have 80,000 Bigfoot reports on the BFRO website. Let's say we go out and pick out only Class A's, meaning it was a visual sighting of a Sasquatch. So we have a GPS coordinate, we have a time, we have a date, we have in that location. We take all that data, we put it into data analysis of AI, and AI starts manipulating in ways that we've never even thought about. And the next thing we know, we say, hey, AI, based on the data you have, on March 31st of 2024, where is the best place that I will be able to see a Bigfoot? And this thing very possibly could go out there and say, you know what, the highest percentage of 99, on a score of 1 to 100, then the score of 99 is this spot right here. And we have a score of 97 for this spot over here and a score of 90 for over here. Mm-hmm. So as you go through as a researcher, if you had that information.
But doesn't that mean, Brad, when you go there, you're going to be probably there with about 50 other people?
I don't know.
That got the same.
I don't know. I mean,
at least three. It's going to be Brad, Brent, and Charlie.
or Russ.
Or Russ.
Us, But it's also, and the thing about it is you also have to put the human equation in there too. It's so funny because Russ is religious about going in the woods and keeping track of reports. So he's got these handwritten calendars, and he writes, in 2021, there was a report at this spot at this time of year. So he says, okay, well, he always brings up this one. It was a park in West Virginia, and there's these, they're salamanders, or I don't know exactly what they're called, some sort of salamanders.
Hellbenders?
They're not hellbenders. No, those are like they're like extinct or something.
Are they
that's
fat
the burrito,
salamanders?
No, Hellbenders. Isn't that the burrito place in Davies, West Virginia?
Yeah, but it's also named after
salamander.
the salamander.
I think it's named after salamanders.
So at a certain time of year in this park in West Virginia, these salamanders, I guess they come out of the hills, they come down as it warms up, and they get in these vernal pools. So these little small pools of water, and they mate in these areas. And Russ says, you know what? These things are about the size of a Snickers bar. And he said, these Bigfoot, I guarantee you, are coming down and eating these things.
They're snacking on them.
So he was religious about keeping track of this. And I think it was about 2 years ago, he went out to this park and he was there. And he's like, nothing happened. The very next day, he gets a report from a herpetologist. So that's not a person that does amphibians. A herpetologist was out there and literally had a close daylight encounter with a Bigfoot, not halfway across the park from where Russ was at the previous day.
And now this is in West Virginia?
That was in West Virginia.
Okay.
So even just the little knowledge that we have as humans and our little primate brains, and we have a little calendar and we keep track, if we can guess it, what can a processor out there with thousands more data points and thousands of more ways to look at data and analyze things, how good is that going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Almost as good as Hellbender's burritos.
Almost as good as Hellbender's burritos. The pizza place is pretty good too.
It is. I love that place.
That's awesome. I have to ask the cliche questions or question. And I want to ask both Brad and Brent. What was your why did you get into this? What triggered it? What was the moment that got you hooked with the Bigfoot thing? Brad?
Me?
Yeah.
You go first, Brad.
I was 13 years old and I wore a size 13 shoe.
So it was your own feet that got you.
So as I was 14, my shoe size went to a size 14. So I was like, man, I got these really big feet. That's kind of cool. There's this thing out there called Bigfoot, and I kind of looked at him, and everybody sees the $6 Million Man episode with Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant, yeah,
right. Mm-hmm. So he's playing him, but no, that was just kind of. I really got interested in that, and once you start going down the rabbit hole, you get on BFRO's website and you start looking at things, and you're just like, oh my gosh, man, this is a cool report. This is something that could really happen. This is something that happens. I'm out in the woods. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. You just get interested in it. And literally I went to my first expedition, man, I think it was like 2006. I went, Matt was at the expedition, Matt Moneymaker. Yep. I couldn't really get anybody to go with me. I remember I asked my mom, I said, Mom, she's an outdoors person and she grew up, in Kentucky. And I'm like, do you want to go with me? My wife didn't really want to go. We had kids. They didn't, they're too young to go. My wife didn't want to go. So my mom went with me. And I remember the first night we went out, we were on this railroad bed. It was dark and we had maybe groups of 3 or 4 of us every maybe 100 yards. So the first group went out. They got about 100 yards down the path and the next group went out and so on. And I don't think maybe it was about at dusk. And we went out. Nothing really happened. We came back to camp and everybody comes back and we always have this little debrief after going out in the woods. And Matt says, did anybody see anything? And one person raised their hand up in the back and Matt says, well, okay, what'd you see? And the girl goes, well, I saw a Bigfoot. And Matt goes, well, what are you talking about? She goes, yeah, we were like one of the last groups and there was this Bigfoot up on the ridge, which is what we were on. We were on a old railroad bed. And Matt said, hey, if Bigfoot are always going to take the high ground. So if we're down on the railroad bed, there may be a Bigfoot on this ridge that's going to watch us. And if we scatter people out, it might follow a group and another group may get a visual. That was the plan. It worked to perfection. Perfectly. We get back and she's saying, well, I saw a Bigfoot. Well, how'd you see it? Well, it was up on the ridge and it looked like it was watching the group in front of us. And that was it. And Matt says, why didn't you say anything? This is a pretty big deal. And she goes, well, I'm on a Bigfoot expedition. Don't we just come out and see Bigfoot?
Classic.
And it was just like, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work, but it just doesn't work like that. So, it was a pretty interesting thing. And that kind of got me hooked. And, I've been out in the woods and I remember one night I had a bluff charge, one come at the woods at me in the middle of the night in the dark. And we had rocks thrown at us. I've had all kinds of things happen. I've had.
Can you explain what a bluff charge would look like from a Bigfoot?
So
scary.
It's fairly scary. We were in the woods. It was no headlamps. We were walking a trail, probably a mile and a half back in the woods. And I was with a friend of mine that was not a believer. He was a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine. He's a Marine. He was with me and he did not believe in Bigfoot whatsoever, did not believe in UFOs. But I said, dude, you like to go camping? Yeah, I like to go camping. I'm like, you and I are going camping this weekend. We're going up this spot and we're going to do this thing. So he comes up with me and we go out in the woods. And so we were the first group in a set of people that were going out. So we go up and we're just walking through this path. I've been down this path 50 times. It was in Beaver Creek State Park, up by Wellsville, Ohio, up in the northeastern part, like by Youngstown, Pittsburgh area. It's probably 1 o'clock in the morning and we're walking and we literally hear a deer go running off through the woods to our right. So just, click, 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 click through the leaves. The next thing I know, the only way I can explain this is from our left coming down a ridge. It sounded like that scene from, Indiana Jones and the first Indiana Jones where the big ball comes rolling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the big boulder comes rolling. It sounded like that ball came rolling through the woods at us. So it's just crashing, crash, crash, crash. I remember it stopped. I have no idea how far it was from us. It was pitch black, no lights, no headlamps, no white lights, no red lights, no nothing. This thing literally stopped. It grunted. It was this, and it's shake. We can hear it shaking the trees because it was must have been some trees, and we heard it shaking some leaves and some trees. And I don't know how long this lasted, maybe 10, 15 seconds, but I will always remember the last thing that happened. It made this grunt like F you. We heard it literally turn on 2 feet and it walked away.
Just literally walked.
Just walked away. We literally heard it turn in the gravel and walk away on 2 feet. And I remember my buddy kind of turned to me and, like I said, I can't see him. I could just hear him. And he goes, "What in the F was that?" And I said, "I have no idea. I did not see it. But we are out here for a reason."
Did you smell it? No. Isn't that part of the Bigfoot lore? There's this smell, right?
Shall I go into that?
Yeah, go ahead into it. Yeah.
Yeah, 32% of the time or something like
32%. Oh, we're getting into statistics.
That is a Russ Jones fact.
Okay, gotcha.
I said 20 to 30, but Russ is a lot more.
I thought he said something about 32%. We were in Blackwater Falls, West Virginia. This was SIP's first expedition, correct?
2011, yeah, or 2012, I don't know.
2012, because I got a set of casts in 2011, and the following year we got it 2012. Or no, maybe I took him to 2012. It doesn't matter. That was SIP's first expedition, I do believe.
You broke SIP's seal? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
He was not with me. I met him. I just, that expedition, we did meet. So we've gone back is what we did. There was this report of a camper that they were camping, and they went and they hung glow sticks in their campsite, like around their campsite to give a little bit of a glow. And the encounter was that this Bigfoot came into their campsite and was playing with the glow sticks. So our idea was to send people down this trail back in the woods. Everybody sets up a glow stick. So every group had a either a thermal or a night vision. Our group had an XP200, which is a very rugged, small night vision scope. At the time, they're military grade. They're about $9,000. This was a long time ago. It was literally the only record device we had in the field that night that did not record. We were there with Tyler Bounds. Actually had Finding Bigfoot's U-Haul there with all their thermal equipment on it. Yeah, with all their goodies. But I did not have one of their $30,000 thermals in the woods. So we go out. There's a group that goes further down the trail from us, and that was Russ and a couple people. There was us, and then there was some other stuff behind us. I go out. I remember it was a purple glow stick. I busted it, shook it, hung it in the tree. I have a pack. I take my pack off. I throw it on the ground. I lay down on the ground. And I always try to go to sleep in the woods because, we do this stuff at really odd times and you don't get much sleep. So I just throw my pack on the ground. I'm going to sleep. So the guys are standing there and they got their thermals. My son's with them. There's a couple new guys. And after a couple minutes, they kind of like, "Hey, man, where'd that other group go?" I said, "Well, that other group's they went this way, straight. If I'm looking at 12 o'clock, they went off to maybe 2 o'clock, between 2 and 3 o'clock up the trail."
That was me. I was with that group.
At least 100 yards. Were you with them?
Yeah.
With Russ?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were up the trail. So I'm laying there, and one of the guys goes, "Hey, there's somebody right in front of us about 12 o'clock. And I said, "No, there's not. The trail goes to 3 o'clock. You're looking at 12 o'clock. There's nobody there. It's a night vision, or it was a thermal, actually. It was thermal." I said, "You're probably seeing a rock that has been heated up during the heat of the day, and it just hasn't cooled off. You're kind of new in the woods, so you really don't know anything. You know what I mean? You're kind of, because you get out in the woods, Sip knows this. You get out in the woods, and everything's a Bigfoot. Did you hear that? No, it's not a Bigfoot. That's a squirrel. No, man, it was big. It was big. I'm like, It's
But
a
he had
squirrel.
big feet.
Right. It's a squirrel. I can see it with the thermal. It's a squirrel. Are you sure? I'm like, yes, dude, it's a squirrel. So anyway, they start passing the thermal back and forth to each other, and like, man, something's right here, and it's kind of moving. It's looking around this tree, and it's kind of moving. It's going down. It's going up, and it's kind of looking at us. And I said, man, I still don't believe you guys. I don't care.
Could you not see it? You couldn't see anything like that?
I don't care. I was laying on the ground. I was on my pack.
Or you didn't look at all?
Only one person has a thermal at the time.
Yeah, only one person has a thermal time, and they were passing along, and I'm just like,
okay.
I've been down this road once or twice, and it's nothing. Let them have their fun looking at their rock, and if something happens, let me know. Well, I'm laying there, and I'm like, you guys smell that? And they're like, no, we don't. I'm like, man, I can smell it. So they bend down, and literally the smell hits them. And it's that skunky, trashy, sewerish, just this nasty smell. And I'm like, maybe these guys are onto something.
No, the rock is smelling. The
Right.
rock
Now the rock stinks.
You smell what the rock
Right.
is cooking?
Right. So I was like, well, it's time to get up. So I literally stood up. And
But you did smell it, and everybody smelled it.
yeah, everybody, when they
Okay.
bent down, they smelled it when I was laying down. They couldn't smell it standing up, but they smelled it when they were laying down. When
Brad, what did you eat that evening?
It was one of those hellbender burritos.
Right. Right. So
No, the smell kind of goes down along the ground.
right, it does. It's heavy. It's because it's a pheromone. It's a heavy smell, and it just. So anyway, I stand up and I'm looking through the thermal, and I'm just like, dudes, I don't see anything. There's nothing there. And literally, as I'm standing there with the thermal in my eye, this thing literally stands up in the thermal, and I can see it.
That's scary.
It was, and you can see its head, you can see its eyes, because its eyes are different temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the eyes are usually hotter and brighter.
Hotter.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, not a whole lot of neck. It's got this, this head, and it's kind of just comes down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it is really right there.
So what you could see, did it look like it had a conical shaped head, or did it look like it had shoulders, neck? What did you actually?
I only saw
what part of you? Okay.
I only saw I didn't see anything like up here. I just saw right in here.
Okay.
So the head to me did not look conical at all.
Okay.
It looked flattish, roundish.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
not conical at all.
Okay.
Which I don't know, maybe it was standing like this, maybe the way it was standing. I have no idea. And literally, I literally hand the thermal to somebody else, and they're watching it, and I'm literally texting Russ going, Russ, we got a freaking Bigfoot right here. My thermal does not record. We need to get a thermal down here that records.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm texting them. We watched this thing for 13 minutes. I went back and checked my text messages. From the time I started smelling it to the time that it left was about 13 minutes.
And that's a huge amount of time.
That's a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
So right when I finally said, Russ, you need to get down here. Because he had a scout FLIR that did record. He started moving towards us. He said he didn't move 10 yards from his position.
And we heard something run off.
Well, they heard the big tree knock, whack.
Yeah.
So once that tree knock happened, that squatch that we were watching literally goes down. We never saw it again.
So you think he was belly crawling out of your line of view?
Yes. I
well,
think
yeah,
they'd go
and we
low.
went back and recreated it. There was actually a huge ditch line just on the other side where it was standing. So it was very easy.
So you all couldn't have seen that part of it at night, but you went back during the day to look at the landscape. Okay.
Right. So what we did is we went back the next day, and we went out a little bit before night, and so we had time to see. And I go over and I'm like, okay, here's where it was standing. It was standing right here. Because we were on this top, like I said, we were in Blackwater Falls, so the ground is very rocky, a lot of rocks, a lot of gravel. It did not leave prints in the mud or anything like that.
The substrate is way too hard for that.
It was very, very hard. But you could see in the grass where it pushed the grass down, and it pushed some branches around, and maybe, they didn't really break them off. They just kind of pushed them around so you could see where something was at. And I'm literally standing there, and I'm like, guys, I know where you were standing. You were right there. How can you not see me? I'm standing right here. No, man, we can't see you. We can't see. I'm like, gosh, man, this makes no sense. I don't understand. I really don't understand. Because in our world, when a Squatch gets that close to you, it is generally a juvenile. It is generally investigating something, and it's probably doing something it shouldn't be doing. Mom and dad aren't around, or mom's watching, or dad's watching from somewhere else, and it's out doing some adventuring that maybe it shouldn't be doing. So,
which is what kids and teens do.
That's exactly right. So we assume we're all 6 foot tall. I'm 6'2". Brent's like 6'9" or something. I don't know what you are.
He's a big guy.
Right. So, but the guys in my group, we were all that 5'9" to 6'2". We're like, this thing was 6'2". I can see it. It's right there. It was 6 foot tall. And I literally said, oh, you know what? Let me do this. So I take my hand, I stick my hand in the air. Like, I can touch an 8-foot ceiling. And literally my hand was right in the middle of that thermal. So this thing was 8 foot tall.
8 foot tall. Yeah.
So if I would have known, right. If I would have known that this thing was 8 or 9 foot tall, I probably wouldn't have been as calm as I was, because this thing was literally 25 steps away from us. It made that, like I said, Russ said there was a loud tree knock from where he was up the path. This thing went down. It disappeared. I remember you guys were coming down, and I remember Russ saying, we can hear it going through the woods.
Right.
We can't see it.
Yeah.
Because the way a thermal works, Sipley knows this, you can't, the difference between night vision and thermal, you can't look through glass with a thermal. You can look through glass with a night vision. Thermal will, whatever's closest, it's going to interact with that, because there's no depth perception in thermal. So it's going to see that pine tree that's 1 foot away from you, and it's going to focus on that pine tree, and really it's not going to get anything behind it.
So is that the major concern with investigations such as this, where you just have faulty technology and it just hasn't caught up? I think this is part of the issue that we're coming to. Let's connect how the technology from 2011 has developed since then to what you guys have now, because you both got your new toys. How is the investigation improved over the years due to the technology advancement?
Or change.
Right. Well, it's not that we have faulty equipment. It's just there's limitations in each thing. Now, there is something called fusion, where you have a night vision scope and then it overlays thermal. But there's always going to be limitations on what you can do. Like today, we took out these awesome drones and we flew them around. But
Cujo,
Stephen King novels are all here. But we were flying these things around, and everything was the same temperature. So even though we had badass thermal, I picked out that deer just because I happened to see his head move. Right. Because everything was about the same temperature. You could see where the water was, but the trees and the grass and the rocks, everything was about uniform. Like if we went out right now, things would cool down some. We'd have some good, what I call thermal contrast. But there's really nothing. There's nothing faulty about what we have. It's just the limitations in the systems themselves. Now, with the advent of these drones and the stuff, we can cover a farther distance. And it was so cool today when I saw that, because I try to fly the drone at high altitude to not run into stuff.
Run into trees.
Right. But when I found that deer, it was right beside this river. So I ended up taking the drone down into the river valley and then started looking around, which was, it's super cool. I dropped down and I'm now looking through the woods at a level of 10 to 20 feet, where I was at 200 feet. Now I'm looking around in this river basin for this thing. So all the capabilities are super awesome. But you still have the limitations of the device themselves. You don't have something that can see through the first boundary layer, whether that be the canopy or the tree, that whatever the subject is hiding behind. Those are the limitations, and I don't see any way around those anytime.
Well, I think in my opinion, something that's really taken the biggest advancement in the last 5 to 10 years is long duration recorders.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, we would have to have a recorder that was in a tote with, a big 12-volt battery, and it can only record for a very little low time. And you had to have these Tascam TS80s or something, or DS80s
Jim Sherman had all that stuff.
Right. So now is what you can do. You can take a long-term recorder. You set it to say, okay, it's only going to record from 9 o'clock at night to 6 a.m. Put it out in the woods. You put a couple batteries in there. Charles Kimbrough has a great set of mics. These guys have literally got these things dialed in. Those long duration recorders will last a month, if not longer. So where we used to have to go in for, 4 or 5 days or maybe a good weekend to get some sound, now they're letting that thing run for a month and not having to disturb the area around them. So,
well, isn't that something that Russ has been sort of devoted to over the past few years? Is these long term?
He's cameras.
Oh, he's mostly cameras then.
Yeah,
audio.
So, no. So he's got cameras that he'll put up. He'll literally walk 3 hours into off trail somewhere in West Virginia, find a perfect spot, and put that trail cam up there and not touch it for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll go back and get it, and it will have 50% battery life, and it'll have, it could have 5 pictures, it could have 1,000 pictures.
On motion.
It's odd because just a little side note, he put this camera out one time, and great spot. He's like, man, I got the best spot for this camera. Puts it out. Not there a week. And he sees a picture of a leaf coming this way from the right. The leaf comes up from the bottom. The leaf comes up from the left side.
I forgot about this.
And literally, it took a leaf and put it in front of the camera until the batteries died. And that's all he got.
That's brilliant, though.
It's done.
Isn't that brilliant?
That is brilliant. So here's something that is 3 miles back in the woods of West Virginia, and somehow a leaf came in multiple directions until the battery died.
Wait. You're saying a leaf, like free-flowing leaf, not someone holding. You're saying someone was holding a leaf, held it.
Not someone, something was holding that leaf in front of that camera until it died. Just doing this. Until it died. Then it did it from up. So I get it maybe from the side, but then I think it did it from the bottom too, and it died. And I mean, I've even.
Did he go back and look for that damn leaf?
Well, yeah, of course. That's how he.
Yeah.
I mean, on weekends, Brad and I
just goes look for that leaf.
Meet up. No, we try to. He's got 50 cameras in the woods.
Yes.
He's got GPS drops, and we go try to find the cameras.
Yeah, absolutely. So just stuff like that. I mean, even I think trail cameras are coming much further. We believe that trail camera is emitting a noise. They're passive infrared now. So until something triggers, the infrared doesn't go off. Do they smell them? There's that kind of formaldehyde smell in the camera. So, he's so careful as to take that camera, get it out of the plastic, take it out, put it somewhere, let it sit outside for a month before ever taking it into the woods. And I've seen probably 2 of the really good photos I've ever seen. One was submitted on a BFRO report to Flats years ago, and it got overlooked. And it's literally a Bigfoot on a trail camera from maybe 8 to 10 feet away. And it does not look like the typical Bigfoot to me. It looks like, I don't know. I wish Russ was here. There's
We all do.
It's not a Gigantopithecus, but it's starts with a P. It's a Paranthropus, I think. So it's kind of a little shorter, skinnier, not such a conical head. It literally looks like one. It's all black, walks right in front of the trail camera. You can see it, and it's a great picture. And I just got a picture that I just showed you, Sip, from somebody out west.
Right.
It's not public knowledge. You can't share it. And it's literally a motion capture of a Sasquatch. It looks, like kind of like a Sasquatch to me on a trail camera.
Why can't you share it?
I can't. I don't have permission.
Okay.
So this came from an investigator out west. He gave it to us to look at to get our opinion.
Okay.
So I just can't. That's his deal. It's not mine.
Can you describe what the difference between regional Sasquatch could be? Could it be as varied as the races of the earth of humans?
Yes. So what is that? It's called Berkman's rule. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I think,
as things
colder
get,
it is.
yeah, as things get larger, the further away from the equator they are. So we're down here in sunny Florida. There's skunk ape down here. That thing is probably bigger than a baboon, smaller than a silverback gorilla. It's skinnier. It's got to have better ways to get rid of the heat. So as Berkman's rule states, as you go further north, the bigger things get. As we go into Canada, the moose get really big. Grizzlies get really big in Alaska. Brown bears, they're really big north. You go polar bears, up in the Antarctic, they're giant. So I believe that Sasquatch follows Berkman's rule. There are charts and data out there that if you chart the size of, if people are faking prints, they're not going to fake them to a bell curve associated with Berkman's rule of size. Mm-hmm. So as things are in the south, that foot's a little shorter, it's a little narrower. As it goes further north, as it's going to get bigger and a bigger, longer foot, a wider foot, that squatch is going to get bigger. I believe that there's an East Coast squatch and a West Coast squatch, because there's these squatches over there that maybe that is that direct come over the land bridge, Gigantopithecus from China, the Bering land bridge. They come over, they stopped in the northeast or northwest. I mean, those are the big 8 to 10 foot squatches that are just free roaming up in that northwestern United States, and the big sequoias and the big trees in the big area, where maybe on this side of the coast, those squatches are a little skinnier. I think there's a lot of times we get reports where they're maybe a little more muscular. They're a little more defined with their muscles.
So those are big. Brad Pitts.
The Brad Pitts of the Sasquatch world are on the East Coast.
No, they're Jersey Shores.
The Jersey Shores, nice. Correct.
Oh.
So anyway, that's what I believe. I do believe that there are different kind of variations. Mule deer, white-tailed deer, there's all variations of the same thing. So
what's in the Pacific Northwest?
What do you mean? Those are the big ones.
Their version. That is the big one.
What is it?
Yeah,
what are they?
The big ones. I believe those are the ones that came right over the Bering Land Bridge. Those are the ones that they have proof of those. The apothecary shops in China. The guy found that molar of a Gigantopithecus. I think they've got maybe a couple molars and a couple teeth out of a dig and somewhere in China. But those are those 10-foot tall, 1,200-pound Gigantopithecus.
And you think that those are the forefathers of what we have today, the Sasquatch?
Yeah, I believe so. I think so. That's the easy way, because we do have proof of those. We do know what they are. They can't be argued.
The other aspect that's always intrigued me is that a lot of the Native Americans and Native peoples all over the world have traded with these beings throughout time. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Well, can I record to this guy's Cali boss? I don't know who he is. We were not passing around a $30,000 thermal. It was a $9,000 thermal. The $30,000 thermals were belonged to Finding Bigfoot's crew, and we did not have one. So if you want to go look up an XP200, at the time it was about $9,000. The BFRO, I believe, had about 9 of them, 8 or 9 of them that were bought by Wally Hermanson, and that's what we used. So anyway,
thanks for responding to that, Brad.
Yeah, and this guy also said something about he's got some red flags, buddy. I've been doing this longer than you even thought about this. And honestly, he says, this thing was 25 steps away, and why didn't we bring out a flash photography? We know in our world, we never pull out white lights, and we never do that, because once you do that, your weekend is dead, and you've ruined it for another 30 people that was with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay. Britt, what's on your shirt? Someone made a comment. I like your shirt. What is it?
Bigfoots.
Oh, Bigfoot.
Island wear Bigfoots. You see them?
That's called a sexy shirt in our household.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sexy shirt.
There was a question on here.
You're going to have to read them because I can't see a dang thing.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't read the comments because these people have no idea what they're talking about.
No, Brad, thanks for playing along. You're taking it in stride. I mean,
I can, like I said. So I will explain, because he said, well, it's really $9,000 thermal. It doesn't record. Well, I'll tell you this. They do record, except you had to have a very custom cord that you had to actually go out to a recording device that you would have to carry around with you. The cords never worked, and they always came out.
Yeah.
Period.
That's what, isn't that what the electrical tape is for? That's what I use it in my household for.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it just didn't. We literally would have, this is what we used to have to do to get them. We would actually have a hood on. We would have a hood on, and we would have basically a little DVD recorder thing with a little video screen on it that we would literally put and look at it, and we would carry it around on our chests in order to get this thing to record. And it did not work. It never worked. It was a military grade thermal, and literally the cords were just very custom, and they never worked.
Yeah.
So.
And the resolution back then was nowhere near. I mean, the stuff we have now is a lot better. I mean, I had the TS-24, which I thought was the best thing in the world, and then the TS-307, what was that? It was the 307, the 329. Those had the higher refresh rates and better, but still none of them are like what we have now.
No, not at all.
The prices have come way down, but
sure.
Yeah, back in the beginning, that stuff was insane. I mean, I've got $50,000 of this crap.
Yeah.
Tiffany's like, what?
Worth anything anymore.
I mean, that's a meme right there.
I mean, over 15 years of doing this crap, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't like
the whole idea is that the equipment that is being used is probably more expensive than your average car for most people. The equipment is not. It's not your iPhone that they're going out with.
No.
Oh, yeah.
So this is not. I mean, it is accessible to anybody that has the motivation to get an extra job to pay for the electronics.
Yeah.
We've got. Let me go. I'll bring up some chats. Oofy's asking, can you comment on the recent sighting in Polk, Giles, and Obion counties? I don't know. Where is that? Is that Florida? I mean, what's?
I don't know where that is. Hold on.
Oofy, can you narrow down the region?
Because we're just in Florida for vacation. We're not investigating here on.
Yeah, well, maybe it is. Okay.
I don't see that.
Someone asked if where is it at? If
does Bigfoot take holidays?
No.
Did you see that one?
Did they? Yeah. Curious. Are there any sightings around beaches, or mainly spotted inland?
Yes, there was a huge one. Sasquatch Chronicles. A woman up in the West Coast had an encounter. And she was doing a photo shoot. She was just taking photos and came across a family of Sasquatches that the male ended up running up on her and knocking her down. I have to look at which one that was from Sasquatch Chronicles. So the lady's name was Claire.
We had a guest tonight on our podcast before I did this one.
Yeah, and Brad, what's your podcast so everybody can know what it is?
It's Wide Open Research. We're on the Untold Radio Network. We cover all kinds of things. We had a guest on, and he basically had talked about, he was up in the Vancouver area, north of Vancouver, south of Alaska, somewhere in that, this indigenous people, visiting this, and he wrote this book. And he said one of the stories that really stood out to him was that it was a group of adults took a group of children to a camp that was very, very remote as a cabin. And it was like a camp, kind of, they took these troubled youth out to kind of get them in the woods and stuff like that. And he said that these girls off, and they were digging clams to eat because they were right by the ocean. And the adults went out and back in the boat out kind of in the bay to drop crab traps to get some crab. And literally they looked over and there was a Squatch watching them from the shore. So they kept watching it. It eventually stood up and went back into the woods. They said it took a couple steps across the beach, right back into the woods. They went around to the other side because they were scared for the girls. They went around to the other side, got the girls. They got them to the cabin. The author that we had on who wrote the book, he was actually stayed in this cabin, which he didn't know at the time of this story. But he'd stayed at this cabin, and he said this cabin was maybe 8 foot off the ground. That you walk up a set of steps, it's 8 foot off the ground. And he said it's very, very remote. So the adults thought this thing left. They go up in the cabin, and the next thing you know, they hear something. Well, this thing, supposedly they could see it moving through the floorboards underneath the cabin, and it was like knocking on the floorboards. It was doing certain things. Eventually, one of the adults went outside. Maybe he had a 410 or a 22 or something, he said, and literally fired a gun in the air several times, and it ended up going off. But that was a time where, if these things are going to be by beaches, think about the nutritional value as at a beach. The clams, mussels, whatever that is.
Lots of protein.
Lots of
protein.
And
the woman said they were actually eating the kelp too. So
right.
I guess they like to have a little bit of seaweed too with their sushi.
I like that idea. Sounds like a good meal to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, what else do you want to talk about?
Hey, well, that same time you were up at, is it Beaver Creek or Beaver Dam?
Beaver Creek State Park.
Yeah, Beaver Creek. You got knocked out of your
yeah, actually that was the same night.
You had a big camper too, didn't you?
So my buddy had a 28-foot tow behind camper. It was a rear bunkhouse. So it was a queen bed up front, rear bunkhouse. We were in the first campsite coming out of it was like a creek at the bottom. There was like this little gorge, I guess, is what you call it. You've been up there, Sip.
Yeah.
So we were in this first campsite. So the campsites are primitive. There's no power, no sewage, nothing like that. We were parked. We had the camper on its stabilizers. We went to bed. I go back and I go to sleep. Well, man, I just want to say it was probably 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it was. I wake up out of a dead sleep, and I sit up in my bunk. I'm in the top bunk on the driver's side, top bunk in the back, because there's 2 sets of bunk beds in the back. And there's a window in those bunkhouses. There's a window that you can push out and get out in case there's an emergency. You can get out. So that was at my feet. I remember I was on an expedition one time, and somebody asked us, we're out at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. What happens if we fall asleep, Matt? And they asked Matt Moneymaker this. And Matt said, don't worry. When they come around, you will wake up. And that always stuck with me. I didn't really believe him. Well, all I know is I woke up middle of the night, no reason. I sat straight up in my bed. Literally, the camper starts rocking back and forth. I'm holding on to the edge of the rail of the bunk as this camper's moving. And I thought, oh my gosh. So the first thing I did, I said, this thing's right here. I can look out the window and see it. And I always made fun of people. I've heard people like camping, they're at a tent. Just look outside, man. Just look out. Just open your tent flap and look out. Man, I'm not a sissy. I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Well, guess what? I didn't do it. I had no desire to look out that thing because I knew it was going to be looking right at me. So it stopped. I remember I looked up front to make sure my buddy, he's a pretty big guy. I figured, well, maybe he got up and was walking around and the camper was moving. Nope. He was sound asleep. I literally went right back to sleep after it happened. I got up the next morning and I said, man, you won't believe what happened to me last night. And they're like, why didn't you tell us? I said, I don't know why. It's just, it happens. And I'll go back to sleep. And I remember it happening. I remember it to this day. So I went back, I got my bunk. My buddy, who was probably 60, like I said, he's a Marine, him and another gentleman pushed on that camper to get it to move. And they could barely get the camper to move at all. And I was literally holding on to the bed because I was almost falling out.
You know, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of the first experiences that Brent had were similar in the fact that he was in a pop-up camper with his daughter at the time. Can you share just a brief description of your experience that time in the camper?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't one of the first times. That was deep into my rabbit hole, if you want to go at that point. But yeah, we were, it was right before she went back to school, and let's see, which one was that? Is that Memorial Day weekend?
Is it
No,
September?
it's Labor Day. Labor Day weekend. And we got there on Sunday, and it was a long weekend because it was the holiday weekend, and everyone left on Sunday going into Monday morning. So we were there because her school didn't start, and I was off for that week. And we brought her mountain bikes, and she was really young. So she was 7 or 8, but she was an awesome mountain biker. She could clear all the trails there, and I was so proud of her. But we were there for that week. We went kayaking, mountain biking. Well, the night that this happened, it was, and where we were, I don't think I should give the exact, but it was a remote camping area. And that remote camping area is cut off from almost everything by a ferry, and that ferry closes at 9 p.m. So we were the only human beings probably within at least 10 miles. So we're in this campground. Everyone left because the weekend was over, and I cooked a huge salmon. She loved salmon. We went mountain biking. I cooked the salmon on the grill. And I was tired, and the audio for this is on Charlie Raymond's KBRO website. I think it's labeled Camper Attack, and it happened back in 2015. But I didn't really go there bigfooting. We just went there to enjoy some time together doing the stuff we like to do outside. And we went to bed pretty early because we mountain biked. And bless her heart, she did like 8 or 9 miles that day. And we went canoeing, and we went fishing, and we cooked this big dinner, and we went to bed probably 8:30, 9 o'clock. And it was about right around midnight where I got awakened to a loud bang, like something had stomped on the front step of my pop-up camper. And I had the AC on. If you ever find the video or the audio for it, I had the AC on. You hear me reach up, turn on the AC, and I yell out there, "Hey, I'm armed!" Because I didn't know what was going on. And I ran audio just as a stupid Bigfoot guy, even though we weren't Bigfooting, but I ran audio, so it's all audio. And then nothing happened. And after about 45 minutes, I didn't hear anything. And I wanted to go out and investigate, but I didn't want to leave my daughter alone in this camper by herself. So I went back to sleep, and about probably an hour, 45 minutes after the first initial thing, an hour, I fell back asleep. And something had picked up at these campsites. There's a big fire ring that goes around the fire pit. Something picked that thing up and slammed it back down. And that time I did grab my shotgun and I did have my thermal and I ran outside. I did not see anything anywhere. I looked around. I didn't get far from the camper, but I went back to the camper, and then a little while later, something slapped on the side of the camper. And the last thing that happened was, and this was so creepy, there's Velcro that holds a pop-up camper, the door around the Velcro that goes around the door of
Because
the
it's
camper.
super secure.
Well, yeah, it's a pop-up camper, yeah. So something started pulling at that Velcro. You hear, and I just kicked the side of it, and I had my shotgun pointing at it. I'm like, get out of here. And nothing really happened.
If it were a human,
They would
somebody
be
would hear,
absolutely.
I've got a shotgun, and they'd be out of there.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, it's just
You'd
something
hear
you don't do.
Feet. Yeah.
But it was so funny. So this whole these events lasted from about 12:30 until 5 o'clock in the morning. And the funniest thing is at 5 o'clock in the morning, you hear me start to snore. I fell asleep again. But you hear this thing just kind of do a big old, and you just hear as it walked off. So the funny thing was, I got awakened at like 9 o'clock in the morning by the damn garbage truck. So, looking back on what had happened was, I think, these things, live on the fringe of society, and they have habit patterns where they've come to say, okay, I can get a free meal here at this time, but I better get there by Tuesday morning because the freaking garbage guy comes, empties that shit out.
Do you think they have a calendar, like an iWatch that says, okay,
iWatch.
So yeah, you think that?
Well, kind of like my cat. He's so awesome. He wants to go out at night, so you better be back in 2 hours going to bed. He comes
got
back
his
in
little
2 hours.
GPS device.
But what I think had happened was, nobody else was in that campground. We were the only ones there, and it wanted us out of there because it wanted a free range to that. And it was a super juicy dumpster because of the holiday weekend. Everybody was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what precipitated the whole event.
Do you think that potentially a bear, like a black bear, could have done something like that and had the same intent with the same type of behavior?
Oh, I'm sure a bear would love to get into that dumpster, but there's no way a bear would hide. And, I started thinking about it because I had my thermal. Mm-hmm. Where in the hell did this thing go? Well, there was
because you walked around.
Right. There's a bathhouse that wasn't more than 25 yards from me. And unfortunately, I can't say I've seen one yet, but from what I understand, they can cover quite a distance in a short amount of time. And it could have got to the thing, but the thing that terrifies me the most is what happens if it was right under the camper watching me walk around. That's pretty terrifying thought.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I never saw it.
Are you seeing the screen now, Tiffany?
I can't read it.
But are you the one putting comments in?
I did. Yeah,
okay.
You made me an admin. Are you going to take my power away?
No, you said you couldn't see, so I didn't.
I can't see.
You still can't see.
I still can't see.
You're just throwing them on the board.
I can't read anything because I'm on my phone.
You're on your phone that you're holding, right? You're still holding.
I'm holding it. I know my hands. It's freaking ridiculous.
You remind me of Dave Spinks, man, in your car eating your sandwich from McDonald's from your drive-thru.
Any rumors / theories that Bigfoot / Sasquatch are from lost civilizations like Mu, Atlantis, etc.?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
See, we're mixing the UFO crowd with the Bigfoot crowd, and now we get the woo.
Well, let's go there real quick. We're getting close. I don't want to keep you all too late. It's your all's Florida vacation.
Going crazy.
Brad, the alien Bigfoot, UFO Bigfoot. Is that what's your take on it?
I don't have a take on that. I mean, I don't believe that they're related. I know that there is a researcher out there that believes that they kind of live underground, that they are the worker bees of the aliens. I don't really fall into that. I think they're simply flesh and blood. They've been around a very long time. They're very skittish. I know that I remember one report of a guy in West Virginia. There was a guy operating a bulldozer, and he comes up on this guy that's making this road, and he literally sees a Squatch maybe 300 yards off in the distance, and it's behind a tree, and it's watching this guy on this bulldozer. And this thing is literally hiding behind this tree from 300 yards. The guy on that bulldozer couldn't see him if he tried. So these things have become very adept at staying away from humans. They do not want to be discovered. They do not want to be around us. They want to be left alone. And that's it. That's all that's my take on it. So I don't think there's a connection between one to the other.
What about you, Brent?
I really don't think there's a connection either. I mean, I just don't. I mean, there's some supernatural things that people have attributed to Sasquatch behavior, which might seem as extra dimensional, or they got sucked up into a tractor beam or whatever. But the way they move, they can jump 20 feet to one spot, and you could be following their track line and it disappears because you didn't look 20 feet over there on top of the next ridge where it jumped up to. I don't know. It doesn't fit my realm. Of course, whenever I listen to people's stories, I take it into account and log it as such, but it just doesn't fit right now.
Gotcha. All right, Tiffany.
Brad, you are really a strong breather.
Yeah, we hear you breathe.
All right, really? Sorry.
He's just excited.
He's got a huge set of lungs on him too.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Tiffany, do you want to share? Well, go ahead.
So there's, Yuffie has brought up a few questions, and one of them that I could read was based on the comment from earlier. She said, comment on sightings in Kentucky. The Boyd from 2019, McCreary from 2020, or Leslie from 2021. Do you have any idea of those encounters? Have you all seen those?
I haven't. I didn't investigate those, so I don't know about them. But I would love to go back and look at them and give my thoughts on them at a later date if I could.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know if they are referenced on the BFRO website or KBRO or where they're referenced. So
okay. All right. So another question was perhaps an AI analysis of Knox would be interesting. And what's funny about that is that there is a gentleman who has worked with the BFRO and is part of the community, but is, can you explain, I'll lean on Brent for this one. Who was the guy? You don't have to give his real name, but you can do his alias. Who is the gentleman who investigates and does the analysis for the vocalizations that we've gotten throughout the years?
Right. That would be Monongahela, and the website for that is Sasquatch Bioacoustics. Is that right, Brad?
Yes.
Yep,
yeah, on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. And there's some awesome stuff on there.
But give a description of who he is and why you believe that his work is so important.
I don't think that we should do that. We'll just say he's a person who.
Well, we've had him on the podcast, so he's pretty open about it. I mean, he's a crypto linguist. I mean, literally, this is what he's done for his entire lifetime is do analysis of, he worked for some 3-letter agencies, I do believe, in the past. Mm-hmm. So, he sits with the headphones on and he does his crypto linguist thing. So, and
he watches stuff on the spectrograph too. Right. So he knows the frequency, the harmonics.
Right. So he uses all that. Right. Yeah. So they use Audacity to do their analysis with. So if somebody's analyzing an LDR, long duration recorder, they don't actually listen to it. They throw it in their Audacity. They kind of start scrolling over until they see things in certain frequency ranges. And I do believe that he has identified a hook, especially on a whoop or a howl, that a Squatch has this little hook on the end of the audio that they can visually see in Audacity. And it is not done by humans. It's not done by any other animal. And
Yeah,
they
cannons
pretty much
don't
know
do
that
it.
that is a Squatch. Yeah.
But it compares all analysis. It compares all the data from around the world of all living creatures that have been
because they're all
known
the
to
same.
human, right?
Right. So he says, hey, I got this little piece of visual data, this little visual sound of this, whatever they call it. He can go reference somewhere else and say, oh, that's a fox because it falls under this frequency. It's this length, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, absolutely.
But her question was more along the knocks. And
are they knocks? Are they mouth pops?
Right.
Are they hand claps? Sorry about that. Are they hand claps, mouth pops? It's rock clacks. What are they? I don't believe that Bigfoot are walking around the woods with sticks, because how many times you've gone to get a stick, the stick's rotten, the tree's rotten, it doesn't make any noise. They're only going to do knocks. They're very, I don't want to say solitary animals, because I do believe they live in family groups, but they're not going to make noise unless it's required.
Right.
So we've seen people where they kind of do the hand claps. So.
Right. And just kind of circle around to kind of complete the circle here on that class A that you were saying that you had with that thermal and that knock that was generated closer to Russ and I. Correct, that was because there were several in the area, and the one nearest to us knocked to alert the other dude, saying, hey, there's some more freakazoids, four or five of them over here. They're now coming your direction. You better get out of there.
Right. So
that's our interpretation of what happened.
I know that I think you guys are kind of done, right? It's an hour and a half show or whatever it is.
We're still alive, but
I'm gonna end it with this, or at least my comments with this.
Okay.
You talk to somebody, they have a clear shot at a Squatch through a gun, high power rifle, something like that. And I always, they didn't do it or whatever. They always ask my opinion. I said, it's not the one that you see that you worry about. It's the two that you don't see that you have to worry about, because you may get that one, but that one is never alone. And I guarantee that.
Yeah.
It's a great PSI.
So do you have to have somebody watching your back the entire time you're taking a trip?
No.
I think that David Paulides has 5 books out or 6 books out, missing 411, that says, yeah, you need to be with someone.
I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And Tiffany, I spent way too much of my time alone.
Yeah. Tiff, before we end the show, you had sent me some inspirational quote. Are you going to read any of those?
I will leave you with one.
Leave me one. Well, before you, I'll let you be the last voice. But
okay.
I saw something online that seemed paranormal. Mm-hmm. A kid just appears out of thin air, and an adult catches her and sees her, and his reaction is priceless. So let me see if I can share this.
Okay.
Damn it, Kevin. All right. Now you ready?
Jesus! You can't be bopping up on me like that. You do that too much.
Watch.
Jesus!
She's back there. It's
you can't be bopping up on me like that. You do that too much.
But he's legitimately scared.
You can't be bopping up on me like that. You do that too much.
Okay.
Oh my goodness! If I had a kid like that, I'd probably scream all the time too.
The kid that climbed out of the well. What was her name?
Yes.
The Ring movie. The Ring. Samara, right?
Samara, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was terrifying. Yeah.
All right, Tiffany.
Well, thank you, Brad and Brent, for coming on tonight to disrupt the entire UFO community. We always enjoy that.
And hostility between the guests in the chat room. I was getting ready to go pop popcorn.
And you know what? Sorry to ruffle your feathers, but you know what? Don't let the haters get you down. They're just jealous of your thick fur, your strength, and your freedom. And that is from Bigfoot himself. I got that earlier today. from someplace else.
Someplace else.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you. Brent, are you
Thank
going to
you.
rest your hand now?
No kidding.
What is
just
real quick? What's the rest of the night for you guys? What are y'all doing?
I'm thinking about sleepy time.